Hey guys, what's up? This is Meathead Mikkel, and today I want to give you an update and explain the new IK set. So it just got reworked again. And there are a couple of things I want to mention before we jump into this. So first of all, this is PTR, so everything is subject to change. Although I think that this new iteration of the IK set, even though it's actually a buff over the last one, is probably going to stay mechanically. I don't know if the numbers are going to get tweaked and all or not, but it makes more sense now because you don't just run around doing nothing while your pets kill stuff. You now actually have to fight, but it's a lot more engaging and it synergizes with other sets a lot better now. The other thing I want to mention is what I'm going to show you guys today is not like fully optimized gear. There are a lot of things I want to test on PTR, and I'm only going to spend a certain amount of time on any one subject. So let's look at it real quick. So first things first, IK got another piece, and those are IK pants. So now there are 7 pieces of IK set. So you don't have to have a Ring of Royal Grandeur. It's no longer mandatory because there is that extra piece. You'll still probably want it because of some other synergies, but you don't have to have it. So the pants slot used to be the Wrath of the Berserker pants, which give you the effect of every rune. Well, that has since been moved over to braces, or a brace. So these are now the bracers, and so it synergizes very well with this. And basically, the set differences: the 2-piece still the same, so call the Ancients last until they die. Basically, 2-piece IK is going to be used in pretty much every single bar build, because of that extra single target damage that you get from Ancients. The 4-piece bonus is really cool now because this is PermaWrath. So basically, it reduced the cost or the cooldown of Wrath the Berserker and Call the Ancients by 3 seconds for every 10 Fury you spend with an attack. If you have a very fast generating / spending attack, then you can reduce this cooldown extremely quickly. Like, you're going through good rifts, you guys will see. I'm actually gonna drop my entire cooldown in about like 10 seconds, which is pretty insane. So this allows you to have PermaWrath, and you may be wondering, why do I need to reduce the cooldown on Ancients? Well, because in higher tiers of Greater Rifts, like 45 plus, they will die to damage, so you're going to want to be able to recast them so they can still deal damage. Now, the 6-piece bonus is what's really crazy. So when you have both your Ancients and Wrath up, and again, you got to make sure that you have your Wrath up, you deal 500% extra damage. So it's whatever basically your sheet damage is, not accounting for like elemental damage, times 6 is what you're going to be dealing. And then by extension, that's what your Ancients are going to be dealing as well, because they scale off of both your damage and your attack speed. So it's pretty crazy. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and just do this 40, and then we're going to look at the gear and the skills and the Paragon points and that sort of thing. But this is going to be pretty insane. So I'm going to pop my Ancients, I'm going to do this, and I'm basically just going to spin to win. And I'm going to be using Little Rogue and Slander. The BK set is probably going to be a little bit better because you are going to be using Whirlwind with this. But you can see that it's basically spin to win. And my cooldown is already refreshed, so I'm just going to pop it again. Let's keep going. It is kind of dependent on density, so you got to make sure that there's enough stuff for you to attack. But you can see my cooldown is coming down very quickly, and I'm doing work over here. And the really cool thing about having all the runes of Wrath of Berserkers, especially with Whirlwind, is not only do you get the 50% extra sheet damage, but you get 50% damage reduction and you get lifesteal, which is pretty insane. Now you want to make sure that you keep your Wrath up. You'll see my sheet damage is almost 5 million. My toughness is like 114 million. So this is pretty OP. This is pretty insane, especially with max Taiguk stacks. And when I pop my Ignore Pain, I have over 100 mil toughness, and stuff dies pretty quick. They will probably fall off. My Taiguk stacks will probably fall off, and I'm going to demonstrate the attack speed here in a second. It will jump up to almost, when I have enough targets, it'll jump up to almost 3 APS, which is insane. And I'm going to be using the Whirlwind that generates a Fury per hit. And in doing so, I basically have free Whirlwind with really high attack speed, so really good cooldown reduction. Just everything about this just screams awesomeness. It's very good synergy now. And you can see that it's not super strong now. Of course, my gear is not optimized right now, and this could be better, but my ancients are going to be hitting for several hundred million per hit, and I'm going to be doing that multiple times per second, especially with my Tasker and Theo gloves, which multiplies your attack speed, multiplies their attack speed by your attack speed. So, long story short, you're basically going to be looking at several billion effective sheet damage just because of what your ancients are going to be doing. You're not really going to be doing with this kind of setup, and this is not this is kind of a proof of concept. But with this kind of setup, you're going to be doing. You're not going to be doing most of the work. Your ancients are going to be doing most of the work. You're kind of just buffing them. And you got to make sure. And the other thing too is this is a lot more engaging now. You have to really manage your resource generation. You have to manage your Taiguk stacks. If you're using Little Rogue and Slander, then you have to make sure that you have your other stacks up. And I'm actually not going to use any of the pylons here because I want to show you kind of this tier 40 rift au natural, so to speak. So you basically just whirlwind through everything. That's what it comes down to. And you don't. You may be wondering, well, how much cooldown reduction do you need to have? The answer is not very much, because you get such a crazy attack speed that it's going to come off cooldown very quickly. I have about 26%, I think, and it's overkill. I don't even need that much. This isn't the best density or the best layout rift, but you kind of get the idea of how quickly this actually kills everything. I'm full up on resources. I'm not taking hardly any damage. I got some pretty crazy toughness going on, and I have lifesteal, so I'm sitting pretty. And you might, if you're in between packs, you're gonna make sure that you pop your whirlwind every now and then just to make sure that you maintain your Taiguk stacks. You can whirlwind in place, you don't actually have to hit anything, or you can just whirlwind while you're moving. But this is basically what you're going to be doing, the entire time. This is basically it. You spin a win, and the whirlwind set is going to be something I'm going to explore. It's very different mechanically. Well, it's not too different mechanically. It's just has some other considerations. Now, let's see what this looks like. So he's going to go down very quickly. Let's put it this way. Look at that. Look at that tier 40 Rift Guardian. I know it's all you guys are saying well, it's only tier 40, but this is a pretty fast kill for a tier 40 Rift Guardian. This is not bad. I would say this is not bad. So anyway, I'm gonna pick up these things real quick, and I'm gonna go ahead and we'll just look at the gear, and then I'll come back and do my gem upgrades and whatnot. So, what do we have going on here? Skills. You're going to be using Whirlwind with Wind Shear because you want to generate the Fury. You actually need Fury generation for this. And unless you're using the BK set, then you don't need this. Then it doesn't really matter what Whirlwind you use, but I would still use Whirlwind because it spends resources very consistently. It doesn't have collision, so you travel through mobs. The only thing that's going to stop you is Waller, but you can use the Kool-Aid Potion. So you're going to use that. I like to take Ignore Pain, Ironhide, and higher tiers. It might be necessary, possibly, but probably not. Called Ancient's going to go for Council Rises. There are a lot of things you could do here, but again, you kind of want to buff your Ancient's damage, and because they don't have that 600% AoE that they used to do, then all these other runes just don't deal nearly as much as Council Rises. And then Wrath of Berserker doesn't matter which one you pick, because you're going to get all of them. Battle Rage, Marauder's Rage, just because you want to buff your Ancients as much as possible. Warcrime Impunity, you don't necessarily have to take this. You could take something else here. I'm not sure what exactly, but you could use something else. This isn't that mandatory because you're going to have so much damage reduction. And Unforgiving, you could also drop this. You could drop this for something like Berserker Rage or Brawler. Again, this is not an optimized build. This is just something I'm showing you guys the concept of. But I need this because I'm not using the new Bulkathos set because I have an Ancient, Little Slander and Little Rogue. So I do need Unforgiving here. And then Ruthless, Rampage, these are both pretty straightforward. Rampage in very, very high tiers, well, nah, you'll still probably maintain your Rampage stack, so I would keep this. And then Buna Bulkathos, again, this is something that you have to play around with, like how much cooldown reduction do you need on your gear, and do you even need this rune, what's your attack speed going to be like. So this may or may not be necessary. And then for my Paragon points, just You guys can, you want to make sure you get cooldown reduction. Well, not either one of these, it doesn't really matter, but this is basically what I'm using. I am going to be using a double unity on my Templar. This is just the rest of his gear. Don't really want to talk about it. Kind of die relic. You guys kind of know the drill. My stats look like so, and this is without any kind of buffs, so when I'm running around, you'll see my my Tygook stacks will go up, and my attack speed goes up, and then once I'm whirlwinding through a bunch of, and this is just going to keep building, and then obviously, close to 100 mil toughness when I'm using Ignore Pain. But when I'm whirlwinding through a bunch of enemies, and this is why, for now at least, I still like using Pain Enhancer, this attack speed goes up even higher, which means three things actually: higher resource generation, higher resource expenditure, higher, well, several things, higher attack speed, thereby higher Ancients attack speed, thereby higher Ancients damage, and quicker cooldown reduction on Wrath of the Berserker. So this actually synergizes, this 6-piece for my case synergizes perfectly with not only Ancients, but attack speed on gear. I think a dual-wield setup is going to be the way to go. And to that end, I am using a Slanderer and a Little Rogue, just because I don't have the Bolkathos set. I trashed it before I did my copy because it currently sucks, but now it's going to be good. And this is the IK gear that I'm using. Again, do you really need to cooldown reduction here? Do you need life percentage? It just depends on, once you optimize and see, like, how much does it take to make sure you have PermaWrath. And then shoulders, just whatever. Gloves, again, there are a lot of different gearing strategies here. You can actually work in the 4-piece Whirlwind set here, where you gain 40% damage reduction while you're whirlwinding, so you get even more damage reduction, which is going to be pretty crazy. But then you're going to give up Tasker and Theo gloves. Is it worth it? I don't know. Maybe. I really don't know. And then bracers. This is basically going to be the bracer. If you can have PermaWrath, you're going to be using these bracers, just because it's every rune of Wrath of the Berserker. It's absolutely amazing. And then just random amulet with some good stats. Ring of Grandeur with Pain Enhancer, and I'm going to be using Enforcer for the pets and for a little bit more damage reduction. Do you need this? I don't know. Again, this is just kind of a proof of concept. And then Unity, double Unity with Immortal Relic, or kind of Die Relic, with Tygook. I think Tygook is going to be a best in slot gem for this build, or basically any Whirlwind Barb build. You're going to want Tygook. I don't care what else you use. This is going to definitely be one of the gems that you use. And you guys may be wondering about, well, what about Focus and Restraint? And that's going to be a separate video, but this got changed, and this actually kind of sucks now. People think it's still pretty awesome, but it's not. It sucks, and I'll explain why in that separate video. And you could use a Boulder Breaker. This is still like kind of one of the older ones. I don't know why it didn't get updated, but I do think that dual wield is going to be the way to go because of the attack speed, because you're going to get much quicker cooldown reduction on your Wrath of the Berserker, and therefore you're not going to need hardly any cooldown reduction. I only have 21.24%, and you saw that I had like plenty of time left. You probably could go with absolutely 0 or just 10 from Paragon points, but you do need the attack speed to make that happen. So anyway, guys, that is that. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Thumbs up if you like the video, sub if you haven't. Be on the lookout for a bunch more Barb stuff. I'm going to be looking at the new sets and some synergies between these items, and I'll see you guys soon.